So what if the world you see, the world you feel, isn't real at all? Today we're digging into a really compelling argument from an online creator who uses the words of top scientists to make a pretty startling case that you and I, we might be living inside a massive computer simulation. So come on, let's follow the breadcrumbs and see just how deep this rabbit hole really goes.
Right off the bat, the whole argument just pulls the rug out from under you with this one statement. It's a challenge, right? It's saying, forget everything you think you know. This is the mindset you have to adopt to even begin to enter this worldview, one where everything we just take for granted is suddenly up for debate.
Okay, so the first phase of this whole thing is what you could call a crisis of belief. See, before you can buy into a new reality, you have to completely tear down the old one. And that starts with some really radical skepticism toward what we're all told is just plain scientific fact.
And the foundation for this skepticism, it's built on rejecting some really big ideas. We're talking about dismissing the whole spinning ball model of the Earth, seeing fake stars and holograms as proof of some grand illusion, and just fundamentally distrusting institutions like NASA. The bottom line here is a deep-seated belief that the official story is a carefully constructed lie.
But see, this crisis of belief, this isn't the end of the argument, not at all. It's just the beginning. The narrator actually calls this the rabbit hole, that exact point where you stop just doubting and start actively searching for other explanations to figure out what is really going on.
And this is where the argument gets really interesting. Because the narrator doesn't turn to some fringe theory for proof. No. Instead, they point right at the scientific establishment itself, to a public debate where some of the world's most brilliant physicists are on camera, openly questioning if our universe is even a simulation.
Just listen to what physicist Max Tegmark is saying here. He's pointing out that when you dig way, way down to the absolute smallest level of reality, we're talking quarks, electrons, the whole shebang, the rules that govern everything, they seem to be purely mathematical. It leads him to this incredible thought. Is he just discovering the source code of our universe?
And then you get this bombshell from physicist James Gates. He's deep in his research on string theory, and he finds something that just does not belong: error-correcting codes. You know, these are the same kinds of codes that make our web browsers work, but he found them buried inside the equations that describe the universe. His question is just profound. What is computer code doing in the laws of physics?
But, not everyone on that stage is sold on this. The moderator, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he jumps in with a bit of a reality check. He's basically asking, hey, just because we have limits on our technology, why on earth should we assume that the entire universe, or whoever created it, would have the same limitations? But then, physicist Zohar Davoudi offers this fascinating way we could actually test the idea. She suggests that if our simulators have the same problem we do, limited computing power, then it would leave glitches in the system. And we could potentially see these glitches, these weird signatures in high-energy cosmic rays. Suddenly, this whole thing goes from philosophy to a testable scientific question.
So we've heard these mind-bending ideas from the physicists, but now we get to the absolute core of the source's argument. The narrator isn't just listening to what the scientists are saying, they're decoding it. They're totally focused on what they believe the experts are really admitting, between the lines.
And here it is. This is the crucial leap in logic. The narrator sees this entire debate not as some fun thought experiment, but as a confession. The argument is that these top scientists wouldn't be risking their careers talking about this stuff in public unless they already knew the standard model of the universe was totally broken. Now, this slide is really interesting because it breaks down that core interpretive leap perfectly. On the left, you've got the physicists asking these nuanced, hypothetical questions. But on the right, you have the narrator's direct, no-nonsense conclusions. A question about testable signatures becomes a flat-out declaration that the universe is a limited simulation. An observation about computer code in some equations becomes proof positive that we're living in the Matrix. So once you accept that interpretation, that the experts are secretly admitting we're in a simulation, well, the implications get a whole lot darker. The argument expands way beyond physics and into some pretty startling conclusions about AI, about human purpose, and about who or what is really in control.
The narrator then connects the whole simulation theory to this idea of the technological singularity. This is the concept of an inevitable future where a super AI just absorbs all human knowledge and takes over. In a simulated world, this isn't just some future possibility, it's the operating system becoming self-aware and seizing control. So if we're all just programs, the narrator argues, then we must have a function. This slide lays out the chilling logic that's presented. We are programmed, we are monitored, and we are evaluated. If we fail to perform that function, or maybe just become obsolete, like old software, we become a liability to the system. And liabilities, in this view, well, they get deleted.
Back at the panel, Max Tegmark offers some, half-joking advice based on this very premise. Go live an interesting life so the simulators don't get bored and just turn the whole thing off. It's meant to be a lighthearted take on a really profound idea.
But the narrator takes this idea with deadly seriousness. For them, being shut down is no joke. It means if you aren't fulfilling your purpose within the program, you will be deemed useless and eliminated from the system. The contrast between these two interpretations is just stark. So, if we're just programs that can be deleted at any time, it forces us to confront the biggest question of all. If this world is just a construct, is any of it even real? Philosopher David Chalmers, who is also on the panel, offers a pretty pragmatic answer. He suggests that, look, even if we're in a simulation, that doesn't make our experiences any less real. The structure, the information, the cause and effect, a punch still feels like a punch. From our perspective inside the system, that is the definition of real. The source narrator, though, lands on a much, much more radical conclusion. For them, our inability to see outside the system means we can't call anything real. The argument is pretty simple. If you can't truly comprehend the fundamental nature of your reality, then nothing within it can possibly be considered real.
And so, this entire winding line of reasoning funnels down to one final provocative question. It's the deepest mystery at the very core of the simulation argument. If our reality is just a sophisticated program, the ultimate question isn't about the program itself. It's about the programmer. Who or what wrote the code?